Hey guys, it is fourth period, so I'm going to do a little demo for you while I have a little time. So what I have here is a whole pork loin, okay? This is where pork chops come from. This is where pork roast would come from. This is the loin of the pig. This is similar. This is actually the same muscle grouping as the prime rib and the like the strip steak that I did. This is just much smaller. So if you remember, the big slab of prime rib that I had was like this big and this fat. That's only like this portion of the pork here. So what I'm gonna do is show you guys how I like to break down a pork loin and use it in a couple different ways. So what I have here, let me put lights on. What I have here, I'm showing like my mise en place. Right? Mise en place for everything. Right now I have my mise en place set up here for a simple butchering task, right? I have somewhere to put the meat, right? I have my garbage can right behind me ready to go. I have my pork here on a plastic cutting board, easier to clean. It's a safer type of cutting board to use for raw meats. And I also have the tools I'm gonna be using. I have my large, I guess people call this a butcher knife. Right, this is kind of called, I call this my scimitar. It's like a machete. This is good for taking nice slices out of meat. And then I'm using this boning knife. It's a little bit flexible. There's no bones in here, but I like using this to peel some of the silver skin off. And I also have my honer here. Steel, it's for honing, right? These knives are sharp, but this steel helps me just touch it up and get it nice and as sharp as it can be. I want to do this now before I start because I don't want to be getting raw pork on here. Now, if I were at the kitchen, what I would do is I would do this whole thing, kind of clean this whole cut up whole. But since I just have my homeowner's cutting board here, this is basically half of a regular cutting board at a kitchen. So I'd be able to fit this on here. But now it's like hanging off both sides. It's kind of not, it's not very convenient. So I'm gonna kind of just estimate halfway, and with this butcher knife here, take a nice slice, trying not to saw through it too much, trying to do like one motion here so it's a nice clean cut. There, so I'm gonna take this one here. As you can see, this looks like a steak. This looks like a strip steak here, right? With the fat cap, with little end muscles here, and the actual loin muscle there. So I'm gonna put this one aside for now. This here, this edge here, the middle is gonna be pork chops. So, flip it over here, we could do a little bit of cleaning. So I'm gonna use this guy here. There are parts here, this is actually really clean here. So, like parts here, the chain, some of the fat that's off to the side here, it's a little just too much. Even though I like the fat is flavor, some of it's too much here. There's a big hump here. So you can either kind of slice it off like this, just kind of remove it. I'll keep this for my dog. She'll like that. And I can feel big chunks here. Another way to do it is to carefully kind of stab through the cut, right, like that, and then hold it up. That's a little more careful there. I'm not grabbing any meat and wasting any meat. So the center is a more neater area here to make a steak. I'm gonna trim a little bit more fat off the top because it's quite a bit of fat. So that's all just pure fat there. Let's get this off. So when I cut this into chops, it's not gonna be like real, like greasy when we go to cook it. See, if I'm cutting this way, see what I do with my hand? I put it back here in case I slip, I won't cut myself. All right, this is not a good idea to do this. No, always cut away from yourself, right? And my body's here is out of the way. You don't wanna cut like this either because that could be, that could be a problem. You see that? See how that fell? My hand wasn't there, so I was not in any danger. So I'm gonna finish just cleaning it up. We do want to leave fat on there because that's the best part, right? At least for me, that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason why I eat pork, right? Is for the pork fat. But there's a limit, right? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make some pork chops, right? So You don't, it's good to measure, but you don't have to measure with a ruler or anything like that. You can just kind of use something here, right? I'm gonna use maybe 2 fingers, right? So I'm gonna eyeball that there. 2 fingers there, look at that. It's a nice pork chop there. This will be good grilled, right? This will be good dusted with a little flour. So if I find that there's still some fat I wanna get rid of, I can lay it down like this and just kind of, you know, clean it up like that. Put it here on my tray so we can look and see what we have at the end. Look at that, a lot of fat there. I'm gonna take off some of this off the chain here. Good. And keep going here. Try and keep everything about the same size. And you can see how the muscles, as it goes down further the loin, it changes. Different muscles are coming into play and other muscles are leaving. All right. So that's 3. And I'm always going to be checking, looking down here and seeing what's changing. If I want to continue making chops. All right. So I'm seeing now that I'm starting to get a lot more fat on top and there's more muscle here. So I'm just going to hit this again. And what I might do, because this is kind of the more similar to like the ribeye end here with a lot of fat, I'm just going to cut this in half, and these are going to be 2 nice big roasts. So see this here with all this connective tissue, a lot of fat here. The pork chop is kind of, the loin is getting smaller. So I think this might be better used as like a roast. Cook this nice and slow and all that fat will melt into vegetables I'm going to put in the bottom. So I'm going to now put this guy on the tray over here. Those are good to go. One of them's gonna get frozen and one of them I'm gonna cook tonight. Now in the middle, we're back to those pork chops, right? I'm gonna go back to my little boning knife here and continue taking off some of that fat. See, all this is a lot of fat here, so I'm gonna come in here, just remove that. See that? A lot of fat, a little bit of meat, but a lot of fat here. Again, I'm gonna keep going here. I'm just like feeling the fat is harder than the meat. So I kind of know where to go here. My dog is sitting here looking at me, wondering why I'm torturing her. I know, Blue. So let's move this out of here. This is a lot of meat here, so I don't think I'm gonna throw this out just yet. This opens up here. There's bones in here, so this is open. We can clean this all out. There's some meat there, but we'll see if it's worth diving into that. Now here, this loin here, I'm gonna cut maybe 2 more pork chops off of here. And then I'm gonna cut a couple of like pork cutlets for like a scallopini. Like almost like a chicken cutlet. I'm gonna cut maybe 2 more of these off. These are about 1.5 inches. These are good size. But you can see the difference between this one and the last one I cut here. See how the muscle's changing? This was going further towards the roast end, the rib end. And this one's getting further towards the hind end. I'm gonna keep going here. Now this is gonna be now all loin. So I'm gonna stop there with the chops. And now I'm gonna try to cut off most of the fat, because this is gonna be a pork cutlet. This is gonna be cooked a little bit different. So the fat on there is not as desirable as, you know, if we were to cook it in a roast. So there is another roast here at this end. So I'm gonna cut that now, right about there. Because you can see how like this is all a lot of just solid meat. That's where we wanna get the cutlets out of. Here, I'm gonna blast this off into another nice roast. All right, a little bit different. This will make a nice small roast. Now here, I'm gonna keep working to get all this fat off here. So I can change my grip here. And with the tip of my knife, I'm gonna work through some of this connective tissue here and just try to peel off this fat. All right, different knives have different uses. There is no reason why you couldn't do this all with a chef knife. Remember, we say the chef knife is the all-around knife. It can do everything. It might not be able to do everything perfectly, but it can do everything. Now here, I'm gonna use that stab method to kind of come through and peel pieces off, trying to angle my knife up towards the fat more so I'm not digging into the meat. not wasting meat. So we're going to try to get this as lean as possible without wasting meat. You can see this here. I got the fat off now, and here we have, you can see the lines in it. This is more like connective tissue here. This is like the membrane on the muscles. This could be tough. So it'll be good for this type of meal to cut this all out. You can see why having a sharp knife, very skinny with a nice pointy end, comes in handy here. What I'm doing here when I'm pushing it down like this, I'm trying to make it flat because my knife is flat. So when I go in, I'm not going to dig into the meat. I'm going to just stay above the meat. Do this, flipping it up, trying to get, I'm digging into the meat a little bit here, so I'm going to change my angle. Change my angle, pushing up. So we're not wasting it. Just about done here. So, we don't have to go crazy and get every single speck of fat off, but we want to get a majority of it off. All right, a little bit of connective tissue here on the side I'm going to try to get. Okay. Now here I'm going to make these thinner because these are going to be pounded out. I'm going to maybe do one finger. So I'm going to kind of push my finger down. I'll see my indent here. And see, this is all just pure pork meat. No, not much fat, not much connective tissue, nothing like that. All right, trying to get them as close to even as possible. Not gonna be crazy. So we got a nice bunch of these cutlets here. Let me see if I can find my mallet. Which I can't. Okay, everything's stuck. So what I'm gonna do with this is this gonna be pounded out, right? If you have a mallet, it works a whole lot better than your hand. You want to pound this out. This makes it flatter. It helps it be more uniform. It makes it more tender. So this is going to be good. Put a little flour, some herbs and spices on this, and fry this up. See what I'm hitting? I'm not just hitting down like a hammer. I'm hitting and pulling a little bit. Right, so just like a chicken cutlet now. This is a pork cutlet, right? So I pounded out this. It got almost probably tripled in size pretty much. So this is gonna cook really quickly because it's so thin. That's why we don't wanna have a lot of the fat and connective tissue on it because we won't have time to break down. So that is how I break down a pork loin. I got 3 roasts. Let me see. I've got 3 roasts. I've got 6 chops and a bunch of cutlets here, maybe 8 cutlets. So for my family of 4, this is 1 meal, 2, 3, 4 meals, 5 meals here. So I have 5 meals, and this whole pork loin cost about $20. So if we bought all these things separately, it would cost at least double. So this is a cool way to stretch out your dollar, get a little more bang for your buck, and it's gonna be delicious. This one's a little small. I probably could have made this one a little bit bigger, but overall we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different meals here. These could be cool grilled pork chops, maybe with like an apple, like fried up like apples and onions together. This could be like a pounded out where we'll put like flour and breadcrumbs, egg and breadcrumbs, dredge these and make cutlets. This would go with like a lemon butter sauce. This one here, I'm going to roast with carrots, celery, potatoes, and parsnips, just with salt and pepper on it, and roast it. It'll be like a nice roast. And these guys I'm gonna freeze and save for another night for another roast. So if you guys have any questions, you can post something. You can post something in comments or put it on the Google Classroom stream, or just wait till class, and I'm happy to talk to you guys about it. So I'll see you tomorrow.